Hello to all of you, our viewers. Welcome to this edition of the News in English. My name is Serge Nhore. We'll start with the headlines. Albert Nyiko has been sworn in as a commissioner of Rwanda's National Electoral Commission. And on the international scene, industries here on the continent are looking to capitalize on China's new zero tariff policy for African imports. Now the details, however, as we begin, let us first inform you that on Tuesday afternoon at Village Rwiro, His Excellency the President of the Republic received Dr. Sania Nishta, the Chief Executive Officer of Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, and her delegation. Discussions focused on ongoing cooperation to strengthen immunization systems, improve public health outcomes, and expand equitable access to life-saving vaccines. President Paul Kagame also received Professor Mohamed Yakub Janabi, World Health Organization Regional Director for Africa, and Dr. Brian Chirombo, World Health Organization Representative to Rwanda, for a discussion on strengthening collaboration to advance health security and resilient health systems in Rwanda and across the region. Now, Rwanda's Chief Justice Domitille Mukantaganzwa has urged the newly sworn-in commissioner at the National Electoral Commission to work closely with colleagues, learn from them, and also share his own experience with them. Adam Squizera with the details on that.
While administering the oath of the office to Albert Nyiko, who was appointed as a commissioner in the National Electoral Commission (NEC), Chief Justice Domitille Mukantaganzwa emphasized that the effective collaboration within the Commission is key to achieving strong results.
Abusanze bazakwereka inzira, bazakwereka uko bikorwa muri iki gihugu ntawe ukora wenyine.
Those you find here will guide you and show you how things are done in this country. No one works alone. We all collaborate and consult with one another. So what we can do is wish you success in these important responsibilities of advancing democracy in Rwanda. The work we do requires dedication at all times. Some may think we only work until 5 p.m., but when necessary, you must continue working even through the night. Rwanda operates day and night. It lives on and will always endure.
Albert Nyiko stated that he would do his utmost to fulfill responsibilities effectively and pledged to maintain good working relations with his colleagues. On April 2nd, the cabinet appointed Albert Nyiko as a commissioner in the National Electoral Commission. He officially took the oath after being approved by the Senate, which reviewed his credentials and confirmed that he met all the required standards.
Now, senators, during a visit to the site designated for the construction of an industrial park in Rubavu district, have called for collaboration, that is coordination among institutions, so that the park will be equipped with the proper infrastructure which will speed up its development, accelerate progress, and increase industrial output. As the Senate Committee on Economy and Finance members began visits to districts to assess the implementation of the Senate resolution requesting the government to fast-track the provision, management, and maintenance of infrastructure in industrial parks, the authorities of Rubavu district informed the senators that although plans for how the area will be used have already been set, there are still obstacles, including the fact that no infrastructure has yet been built and that residents have not yet been compensated for their land. Landowners and residents living around the Rubavu Industrial Park say they should be given clarity and that implementation should begin because they have been hearing about the project for many years. The authorities in Rubavu say they are looking into how land compensation payments will be made with the involvement of investors. The Rubavu Industrial Park, covering 200 hectares, was approved in 2024. The valuation carried out showed that more than 33.5 billion Rwandan francs is needed to build infrastructure there, including more than 23 kilometers of roads, as well as infrastructure for water and electricity and other facilities. Now back here to Kigali, and the Rwanda Investigation Bureau has paraded 9 men before the media, being investigated for forming a criminal gang and obtaining property through fraudulent means. Olive Nete with the details on that.
havamo umuti wo kuvura kanseri.
The 9 men were operating in 2 separate groups. Some of them posed as commission agents, claiming they could connect people to an investor interested in buying quinoa, a crop that is still uncommon in Rwanda, and help them find a place to operate from. They were arrested while looking for a building to rent for their supposed business, agreeing with the landlord that they would pay him $8,200 per month. At the same time, they convinced the landlord that they could also sell him quinoa, which he would then supply to a contractor and make profit. The landlord paid them, and they initially gave him wheat that had been colored to resemble quinoa. They later encouraged him to continue purchasing more, making it appear like a highly profitable investment. In the end, he had paid them a total of 20 million Rwandan francs. The spokesperson of the Rwanda Investigation Bureau, Dr. Thierry Murangira, explained that this was a clear case of fraud aimed at unlawfully obtaining another person's property. Among the suspects are also individuals accused of selling other people's property with the help of a private notary. They are also suspected of advertising fake tenders for the supply of goods using deceptive schemes. The suspects were arrested after allegedly obtaining 53 million Rwandan francs and $3,000 through fraudulent activities involving at least 2 known victims who have already filed complaints. The Rwanda Investigation Bureau has called on anyone who may have been frauded in a similar manner to report the case as early as possible.
The 21st of April this year marks exactly 32 years since more than 250,000 Tutsi were killed in a single day during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. It remains the day on which the highest number of victims were murdered during the 100 days of unspeakable atrocities that befell Rwanda, the fastest genocide in recorded human history. 50,000 of the Tutsi killed on that day were massacred in Murambi in the former Gikongoro prefecture, now part of Nyamagabe district, that's in the southern province. Olive Nete once more.
Before the genocide against the Tutsi was executed in April 1994, areas known as Ubunyambiri and Ubufundu in the former Gikongoro prefecture had already witnessed anti-Tutsi violence in 1963. These attacks forced many survivors into exile. Murambi was one of the areas where the genocide was carried out with extreme brutality. It is a hill surrounded by higher ground where thousands of Tutsi had sought refuge after local authorities deceived them into believing they would be protected there. In reality, this was part of a deliberate plan to gather them in one place so they could be exterminated more easily. Of more than 50,000 Tutsi who had taken refuge at Murambi, only 30 survived the massacre that took place during the night of the 20th of April into the 21st of April 1994. The same date also carries painful memories for survivors of Cyanika Catholic Parish in Nyamagabe district. It remains difficult to comprehend how Interahamwe militias were simultaneously killing Tutsi at Murambi and Cyanika, 2 areas located very close to each other. On April 21st, 1994, the former Gikongoro prefecture was filled with cries of despair from Tutsi men, women, children, and the elderly, all pleading for help that never came. Gahonziri Alphonse, a survivor from Kaduha in the former Musange commune, recalls that killings targeting Tutsi there occurred at the same time as those in Murambi and Cyanika. He explains that after several days of resisting without food or water, people became too weak to defend themselves, making it easier for the Interahamwe militias to kill them. The genocide intensified, particularly across the 3 prefectures of the southern province in Rwanda, after the former president of the interim government, Theodore Sindikugabo, openly encouraged local authorities to accelerate the killings of Tutsi. April 21st is also remembered as the day the United Nations Security Council adopted Resolution 912, which reduced the number of UN peacekeeping troops in Rwanda under the United Nations Assistance Mission for Rwanda. The former Gikongoro prefecture is today made up of Nyamagabe district, Nyaruguru district, and parts of Huye district. Following the liberation of the country by the RPF Inkotanyi, significant efforts were made to rebuild this region, one of the areas most devastated by the genocide against the Tutsi. It was rebuilt through infrastructure development and programs aimed at fostering unity and peaceful coexistence among citizens.
Again, thank you for taking the time to join us for this edition, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.